Hi, I'm turning into Walter, the guy from the Big Lebowski.
Oh, Cynthia's dog. I think it's a Pomeranian.
Yet Walter brought his ex's dog bowling. I brought my ex and her whole family. For those of you who may not know, The Big Lebowski is a movie from the 90s, I believe, and it's become a cult classic. And Walter, who is a character with a hair-trigger temper, he relates everything that happens in his present-day life to his experience as a soldier back in Vietnam.
Lady, I got buddies who died face down in the muck so that you and I can enjoy this family restaurant.
All right, I'm out of here.
Now, I'm not a Vietnam War veteran. I've never been to war. But I was in the military for 9 years. I was in the active reserves for 9 years. And I got into the Army National Guard, the New York Army National Guard in 1970. And that prevented me from being drafted. That was a pretty tumultuous time in our history. And what happened for me is I always had kind of a little guilt in my heart about my friends who ran toward the danger back then. I had friends who joined Army Airborne, Marines, and others who ran toward the conflict and the combat, and I got a pass, because I was in the reserves. Now that's an honorable way to serve, I suppose, and I also spent 20 years in the busiest fire companies in the world, so I've risked my life in service to my community. But I still had that kind of, I don't want to say it was guilt because it wasn't that strong, but it was always a feeling that I had gotten away with something. And I've had a great admiration for the men who did serve. And some of my friends died in that conflict. So it was a big part of my history. So as I'm watching my ex-girlfriend and her 3 daughters roll a bowling ball down an alley for the first time, the idea for this video all started to come together for me because it tied like the dude's rug. It just ties the whole story together.
That rug really tied the room together, did it not?
The reason I am staying in touch with my ex and her family is because her children are my stepchildren. As many of you who've watched me know, I hired Buakaw as a manager for my yoga studio about 9 years ago. When I had to shut down because of COVID, she and I became more involved in a personal relationship, and it's always been a tempestuous relationship. We've broken up and gotten back together and all of that. Her mom and I their mom and I did break up. It was the children that reached out to me to stay in touch because, they view me as their father. It was a very touching thing. But beyond that, I discovered that their grandfather on their father's side, I never had anything, I don't know their father, and they don't have much to do with them either. But his father was an American soldier who died in the Vietnam conflict. And I learned that when their grandmother, who they are close with, their father's mother, the girl's grandmother, they love her very much because she was raising them before I took them into my home. She was their caretaker when Buakaw was working. And they're very close, and she announced something that none of the family knew. She had been receiving a widow's pension since 1973. And I'm guessing it was to the tune of about $1,000 a month, and she had been putting that in the bank and not telling anybody and living very frugally. So, she was in her 80s and she has other grandchildren. She announced that she was going to start to disperse that money amongst her grandchildren. So that caused quite a stir in the family. And I was like, wait a minute, these girls' grandfather was a Vietnam War veteran who died in action in Vietnam? And I went down a research route and actually found, I didn't want to talk to their father, but he had a brother, Gary, who was a monk And I went and visited the monk, and the monk gave me all the information that I'm telling you. Joseph T. Campbell was from California. He moved to Thailand as a young teenager, became fluent in the Thai language. So the Army recruited him, the U.S. Army recruited U.S. citizen Joseph T. Baker, who could speak fluent Thai, into the Army from Thailand. And he was a staff sergeant when he died, and that suggests that he had more than 4 years of service. He lived in Bangkok, and I suspect that he was involved with the huge complex of clandestine services that was present in Thailand back then, and still is today to a great degree. Joseph T. Baker was stationed in Camp Friendship up near Korat. That was a den of spies back then. Air America and other elements of that CIA network were working out of there along with the military. And but Joseph lived in Bangkok. That's a long commute. And from the description of the motorcycle that his son Gary, the monk, gave me, he probably owned a Harley. He had pistols. He had a gated house here in Bangkok. I think this guy was CIA adjacent, but he was in the Army, and he died in service to his country, and that touched me. And this remarkable thing happened. It deepened the bonds that I had with his grandchildren. And I remember promising Gary the monk, I was sitting in his humble carriage in a very opulent Wat in just south of Bangkok, and the Wat was opulent. Gary's little living cottage was very humble. Actually, we were sitting on the floor, and I had an hour-long conversation with that man, translated through Bulakau, and I promised him that that I would take care of his father's grandchildren. It was quite an emotional and spiritual moment for me. If you're interested in all of the details of that story, I'll link an essay that I just wrote and posted on X, which over 300,000 people have read. That touched me as well, that so many people are interested in reading that. And I'll post a link to that essay if you want to get all the details of the story that I just told you. But as I was watching the kids roll, they wanted to go bowling. I haven't bowled in over 30 years, and they finally talked me into it. And it just took the whole family. And as I'm watching these four Thai ladies try to roll a bowling ball for the first time, it like the dude's wrong, the whole story came together, because it reminded me of the promise that I made. And the promise that I'm keeping. I have cared for these children. We care for each other, but I am taking care of them as well. So yeah, that's my story this time. I'll be going up to Korat next week. I'm going to be traveling around Isan next week. I'm going to a few places, but I want to go by Camp Friendship, which is now under Thai control. The Thai military runs the post and the air base that's there. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the complex and very deep relationship between the United States and Thailand that is still going on today. It's changing, though. It's changing a lot. I'm going to be talking about that more in upcoming videos. If you're still here watching, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.